Yes. Come on in, put your nines up. And it's like that. Yes.
Know me in the mezzanine. Let it
Come on in, family. Put your nines up.
For enemies, especially now we on the bigger and better things. You know the name ring bells, let it ring, nigga.
Yeah.
Let it ring, let it ring. You know the name ring bells, let it ring, nigga. Let it ring, let it ring.
Put your nines up, family. Come on in.
7 for this week. Been on the grind, sun up and down this here, not for the week. My stock on rise, today's prices, not yesterday's feet. This world of drama, dodging karma from my days as a G. Planting knowledge, empowerment in the streets for my peeps.
Smash that like button, smash that heart button. Let's go.
Consciously knowing I fall to land back on my feet. Dust off my
It's
shoes,
Tuesday.
Then it's back to the peak top. Been the beasts playing snatches, running from beat cops. Scully tops to when Scully's running down on my ops.
Yes. It's that Pacololo available on all streaming platforms right now. Go ahead and cop that.
I fell in love with the feeling from the feeling I got. Adrenaline pumping, blood rushing from the bulge of the block. Stop with hollow tips that make a life come to stop. My change of course came from my homie, lifeless, dead in the box. Still hear the cries from his son and his girl asking why. I lost a piece of me that day without a proper goodbye. But that's the norm for we these days. Just take your piece of that pie. But that's the norm for we these days. Just take that piece of that pie.
You know the name ring bells, let it ring, nigga.
Let it ring, let it ring.
You know the name ring bells, let it ring, nigga. Let it ring, let it ring.
Let's go. We heavy. Oh, we heavy. Peace to everybody in the building. Come on in, put your nines up. You already know what it is. I'd like to thank you for being on with me this morning. Welcome to the Lighthouse. Grand Rising, Uncle Mayat, all of that. Listen, yeah, let it ring. Listen, I want to shout out my first 9 before I get started. I want to shout out my first 9. First one on board out of Long Island, we had Lottie Billy, first one logging on at 8:55. Right behind her, we had Sonia Sunshine. Just so you know, Lottie Billy, that gives you the option to choose what song you want to hear at the end of the show. If you stay to the end of the show, you'll be able to hear what you want to hear as the outro. Tia Hamilton, Grand Rising, number 3 out of Detroit. Put your nines up, let me know where you from, family. The Earthen Vessel out of Philly. We got Philly in the building this morning. Burner B out of Long Island as well. Long Island 2 times deep. We got Taekwon Cobbin always in the top 9 at number 6. We got Oshi So Fly made it in number 7 from Cincinnati in the building. We got Inkeru 999 Grand Rising to you. And last but not least, out of Long Island once again, we got John Miles. Long Island is super deep this morning. What's going on? Something in the water. Queen made me some tea this morning. Listen, let's get our frequency right. Grab your Tibet singing bowls. Shout out to everybody that ordered theirs. Yours is coming this week. So happy for you guys. I know we always plug the Tibet singing bowls before we start the show. We got those in the Lighthouse store. Go ahead and cop that. I'll have the link in the description, or you can go to my other videos and you'll find the link there if you want to get you a Lighthouse singing bowl engraved with the Lighthouse logo on it. Let you know you are part of the squad. Squad up. Who but me? Let's go. So grab your bowls, get your water in there. Let's get the frequency right. Let's tune up. And those of you who don't have a Tibet singing bowl, you could just feel the vibration. You'll get the same effect just by listening to the sound. Or you can go ahead and order your own for your own meditation pleasure at the Lighthouse store. You gotta try this, family. Once the water gets to a certain vibratory frequency, you'll start to see it start jumping out of the bowl. It's the craziest thing to actually see, man. And the taste is totally different. Like, you gotta try it. It's amazing. But what I will say is that the ones in the Lighthouse store, the Tibet Singing Bowl that we are selling to you guys, these are actually better. Like the tone is way better than the one that I'm even using now. So I'm excited for you guys for that. The tone is way more pure. I mean, I've been using mine for quite some time now, and honestly, mine's not even geared towards drinking. The new one is geared towards drinking. So I'm gonna be, moving those out for you guys. I cannot wait for you guys to get it because the tone is just right on point. So let's get it going. Today we're going to be talking about the Scribe. You got to talk about the Scribe, the Kemetic Scribe. Why? Because it's one of the most important figures throughout Egypt. One of the most important things, and many people don't know this. Many people don't pay much attention to the Scribe as much as they should. I don't know why, but we do need to pay attention to the Scribe. And the reason why the Scribe is important, you guys know, is always a building process with what we do here. I always give you these lessons in order. So as we build, you'll understand the reasons why we're talking about certain things. The Scribe, first off, let's talk about who the Scribe is for the lay, for those who have no idea what a Scribe is, okay? Let's deal with that first and foremost. The Scribe, right? Let's see if I can find some early. So when you're dealing with a scribe, not everyone learned to read and write. Okay, in Egypt, only one group of people called scribes was allowed to have this knowledge. Now, this is very important. This is very, very, very important that only one group of people, right, could read and write in Egypt. Right now, mind you. Sometimes the person who was doing the reading and the writing wasn't necessarily the king or the queen, right? The scribe was the only person who could read or write. The scribe was the person who was next to the king or queen, like the vizier to the throne, right? The right-hand man in arms, right? Who were the scribes? Scribes were people in Egypt, usually men, who learned to read and write. Although experts believe that most scribes were men, there's evidence of some female doctors, these women who have been trained as scribes so that they could read medical text. So now, just from this sentence alone, right? Just from this sentence alone, we're learning a lot about the ancestors, right? First and foremost, we know that they can read and write. Right? We're just getting started. We already know that they can read and write, certain people, right? But we also know that they dealt with medical records, right? Medical records, right? And some women were doctors. We had female doctors back then. Let's talk about it. At a time in today's society where most doctors are primarily men and the women are mainly nurses, right? Here we're learning that there were some female doctors already. Give it up for the women of ancient Kemet. Running around here healing folk. Okay? So first thing that we can get from that, right? And then secondly, they had a text specifically for medical records, right? So one of the common things that you learn about ancient Kemet is that there were different types of writing systems. It wasn't just one thing, right? So even if you learned how to read and write, you learned one type of style genuinely if you were the lay person, right? You didn't learn all the styles of reading and writing because there was different texts for different things. So they had writing specifically for medical documents, and they also had writing specifically for courts. They had writing specifically for the royals, right? And then they had writing specifically for the lay, right? Right? The average person. Because there was levels to this, right? So what does that mean? That means that every artifact that we find, family, listen to this, throughout all of Africa, I don't care which civilization you want to deal with, no matter which artifact that you find, if it's not in one of the housing facilities, such as a temple, a tomb rather, or someplace where a scribe would have put it, right? You are essentially possibly dealing with someone who's still learning how to read and write. Not necessarily somebody who knows what they're doing and is telling an accurate story, right? So always remember that in the back of your mind too as well, right? You have to understand where it's coming from, right? So now, how did someone become a scribe? To become a scribe, you had to attend a special school for scribes, right? At this school, you would learn how to read and write hieroglyphic and hieratic scripts. This was hard work. These scripts are complicated and there were many signs to them. Students spent a lot of time practicing the signs by copying them onto sheets of papyrus, old pieces of pottery, or flakes of limestone. Now, why is this important? Why is this important? After what I just told you, why is this important? I'll tell you why. Because if most of the students spend a lot of their time writing on scrap pieces of stone and stuff like that, a lot of the things that you're finding, right? Watch this. In these other countries, right? And these fragments that aren't actually inside of tombs, they're just students. Students of the game. Students of the game, right? So when people be like, oh yeah, you know, Jamaar, we found this artifact over in the Grand Canyon on a shard of stone, right? And when I say was it in the tomb, they say nah. I'm like, well, we can't go by that. We can't go by that. That's not a professional. See? That's not a professional. Let's deal with the scribe. Because the scribe was writing the king's moveabouts and whereabouts, right? Right on the spot there in real time. You see what I'm saying? It's a big difference. It's a big difference, right? It's a difference between dealing with a student and somebody who is the actual one that's employed. Somebody, like, literally they were finding people's homework. Finding people's homework. People who are in school and saying this is evidence of this and this is evidence of that. So we have to be very careful with the artifacts. Even the artifacts that we find, we have to find out who the source is, right? The scribe, who's the one that's telling the story, right? That's very, very important. Moving on. Could anyone be a scribe? No. Major key. Most often, it was the children of scribes who became scribes. Also, some craftsmen were able to get their sons into the school for scribes. It was very, very rare. Okay? So not anybody could just jump into this lane. I'm a scribe now, right? Most of the time, it was passed down from generation to generation. Generation to generation. Like most things, right? Passed down from generation to generation. You can't just, today you don't have the, today we have the ability, you can grow up, be whatever you want to be. But back then, not so much. Not so much. If your father was a herder, more than likely you would be a cow herder, right? If you were born a royal, you were a royal. If you were born a slave, more than likely you would be a slave. See? So there was no upward mobility, right, of the classes system for the most part, even back then. You see what I'm saying? So let's keep it pushing. What tools did a scribe use? Scribes usually wrote on papyri with reed brushes dipped in ink. The ancient Egyptians made ink by grinding brightly colored minerals into powder, then mixing the powder with liquid so that it was easier to apply. Okay, So if you're wondering how they drew all these fine things, right? This is taken out of the Tune of Men's, okay, Menes. So this was a scribe who lived in ancient Kemet, and this is one of the things that was found in there, one of the drawings, right? So they made these drawings in these different colors by grinding up minerals. See what I'm saying? They would take the minerals, grind them up, and they put it inside that little tablet thingy there. It's right here. Okay. You'll see a lot of them, right? They were called the seshes, right? And there's another version of it. Let me see if I can find the other version of it so you can see what that looks like. I thought I had an image of that. Okay. So if you look at this scribe here, you'll see that he's holding something in his hand, that white little thing there. But then there's an image right next to that, right? That is what you'll see a lot of scribes using. That little drawing there, that little device. You'll see that a lot everywhere. Okay, that little device is what would hold the paint. It's actually the symbol of a scribe. If you look, you'll see that image above each and every one of these scribes here. You'll see the little reed holder there, but then you'll see another piece there. It's like a palette. And those circles in there is where you would put the minerals and the paint, essentially, that you were going to be mixing, right? So anytime you see that symbol, that's the symbol for scribe. That's the symbol for scribe. It's called sesh, right? So anytime you see that, you know what that is. They're talking about scribe. Actually, this is what it looks like in real life. If you look on the bottom, you'll see the two little circles there, right? And that little container there where you put your little sticks. And probably that little satchel there is where you would probably put the minerals, right? Or whatever you were mixing to create your colors, right? So the scribes were essentially the intellects. They were the ones who knew what was going on. Major key. The scribe was probably the top job that you could have in Egypt, besides actually being a builder of the pyramids. The scribe was the one who got paid the most, right? He was essential. The scribe is even talked about in the afterlife. Here you see in that first photo here, you can see Tahuti, right? You can see Tahuti, the lawgiver, and he's holding the reed stick there, right? He's holding the tablet, and he's able to write down what's going on. Now, most of the scribes, right, their job, they didn't get paid. They didn't get paid money, just so you know, right? Money wasn't a thing back then, like it is today. Back then, it wasn't so much money. They got paid in grain, major key. So they were being fed deliberately, right? Literally being fed. They got paid in grain. So many times if you see a scribe, you'll see a scribe in the grain field. You'll see them out there counting bales of grain. You see, the thing about the Kemites, and that's why the scribe is so important, even these images that you see here, you wouldn't have these images without a scribe. This is how important they were. They were literally getting bread. Facts. Here you see them sitting on a mound of grain that they used to make bread, right? So if you were a scribe, you was getting paper. You know what I'm saying? That was the job. Everybody wanted to be a scribe. See all the students in class. Everybody wanted to be a scribe. The same way, you know, folks want to be doctors and lawyers. They wanted to be scribe. See what I'm saying? So back then, that's how they was eating. I mean, so the scribe was the single most important person in the field, and we can't run from that. Right? To go to school, you literally sometimes you have to be there for years and years and years and years. I think it was like 5 years in order to become a scribe. So now, here we have Khonsu, right? This is his tomb, showing him and his wife, right? In the pose of adoration to Asar, right? He was a big time scribe. Big time scribe. And inside the tomb of the scribe, you'll find the most elaborate work. Obviously, because the scribe was the one who drew everything. right? Here is also inside his tomb, probably showing some of his students copying his work, right? Very, very important figures here. A lot of the scribes were buried next to the kings. You can find some of their artifacts in the museum. If you've ever been to the Met, you will find a full-size image of a scribe there, the one that you actually see on the face of the bills from Egypt. In Kemet, they actually have a scribe on their dollar, right? I don't know if you guys have actually seen that. I actually have an image somewhere. I can try and pull it up, but if you pull up the Egyptian dollar, you will see the image of the scribe on there. Very, very common. And it's this individual here. You will see him also in Egypt if you go to the museum in Cairo, pretty much everywhere. Most scribes sat like that because they would lay the tablet, on their knees and right there. And the scribe, for the most part, is the one who's giving you what it is that we know. Everything that we know about ancient Egypt, we're getting it from them. And ancient Kemet has more records than anybody of their civilization and what was going on in real time. There's no civilization that has more accurate records. Nobody. And this is why people say, well, why are we always talking about Kemet? Why are you always talking about Kemet? Well, the other people didn't have sense enough to leave anything behind, so we can't talk about it. They didn't understand the importance. They didn't understand the importance of leaving a historical record. It was ancient Kemet who documented everything. So it's hard for me, right, to listen to any civilization saying that they were more advanced than Kemet if they didn't leave any historical records behind. It just doesn't make sense, especially when right? Especially when you're not going to be here forever and your descendants are going to need this knowledge, right? How come they didn't leave anything? They were so smart that they didn't leave anything for their children. That doesn't sound like an intelligent being. It doesn't sound like a highly advanced being. If you have all of this knowledge, but yet you have no proof, nothing left behind, where are you learning what it is that you're learning? So people they didn't have a choice but to take what Kemet was teaching and rip it off because they didn't have anything left. Their ancestors left nothing for them. Well, luckily, your ancestors did for you. All praise to the ancestors. Right? So what can you take from this? What can you take from this? Who's telling your story? That's what I want to know. Who's telling your story? If you're learning something new today, smash that like and heart button right now. Let's get the algorithm kicking. Smash that like and heart button. Share to like 10 groups. I know how we do. Share to your friends and family. Right? So who's telling your story? Right? Who is your scribe for your life? Because right now, right, when we look at the evidence shown, everything that was written by a third party, right, from their perspective, watching what's going on, right? It was written by a third party saying, this is what we were seeing. And they were literally drawing everything that you see. All of these things were done by scribes. Scribe. Right? These are the ones who left us the evidence behind, letting us know what's going on. These artists. Right? Let's talk about the importance of art. There's a reason why they call it artifacts. Artifacts. Break it down. Break down the etymology of artifacts. The root word is art of facts. The art of straight facts. Right? So when you start dealing with the art of facts, right, you realize the importance of those who are actually bringing you the story. and why they were kept close to the king and the queen, why they got tombs and were buried amongst royalty, because they're the storytellers, the griots. In modern day time, who are those guys? Well, it could be a number of people, right? Now it's not just subject to only one type of person can be a scribe, first and foremost, right? Anybody could be a scribe. Anybody could be a scribe. As a matter of fact, I'm scribing right now. Either you caught it or you didn't. Right now, with the technology that we have right now, you have the advanced technology to be your own scribe. Huh? You have the ability to be your own scribe. So the question is, what are you doing? What are you doing? I bet y'all wasn't ready for this one. Y'all wasn't ready for this one, where we can learn from this, right? What we can learn from this. You are the scribe of your life. You walk around with your tablet in your hand every single day. Why do you, and you could do it in real time. Facts. Why do you think when you hop on Facebook, right? It asks you to say, what's on your mind? What's on your mind? Right? So the difference between point A and point B, right? The difference between this person and another person is basically what's on your mind. Do you have control of your mind? Are you a scribe? Are you a scribe? Or is somebody dictating what you're writing down? You had the power. You had the power to change your life and actually dictate what your life is looking like. It's your perspective at the end of the day. If your life sucks, guess whose fault it is? You're the narrator. You're the narrator. So that means you literally have the ability to shape how your life is supposed to look, shape the perspective of what it's supposed to be. Right? That's where we at. You say, well, how can we use this in modern day times? That's how. Right? Back then, we could learn a lot from the ancestors. They took the time to make sure that the population of their people understood the importance and the significance of reading, writing, and tracking. Thus, the reason why they were able to give us the stars, right? The zodiac, the sun, the moon, and the stars. They were able to give us that. They were able to give us a calendar. They were able to give us medical records, as we showed you, right? Everything that we learned about doctors, everything that we learned about lawyers, right? All these different trades that we now use, it started back then, and we have receipts. We have receipts, right? They tracked the fact that they rode on boats and circumnavigated the globe. So how can anybody say that ancient Kemetic people and ancient African people weren't in the Americas? Well, we have the scribes' writings showing them making the boats and going over there. What is we talking about? Now, what if the scribe didn't write this down? We'd be forever wondering if black people was capable of swimming and making boats. That is a fact. We'd be stuck. You see how important the scribe is? Writing it down and saying what happened, telling the story, right? Being the ma'akeru, true of voice, right? Saying exactly what went on as it went on, how it went down. You're the scribe of your life, right? In this day and time, we don't hire people to tell our story. We write it ourselves, right? We write it ourselves. So really, the main thing that we have to worry about is the perspective of how we see our lives, how we see our story, so that we can write it down with the right intentions, right? So we can write it down as a ma'akeru, be realistic and actually say exactly what was going on in our life. We can create our life as is now, right? Jennifer said, in nursing, we say, if you don't document it, it didn't happen. That's life. Major key. Major key. Right? So who's telling your story? Is your story about who you are and your past and black people's past, your ancestral past? Is your story being interpreted by people with your best interests at heart, or is it people trying to reshape the history? Think about that. Think about that long and hard. The story that you were told, is it your story? Or is it a story that was transliterated from somebody else and delivered to you and planted into you? What's your story? You know, it's crazy how some black people, right? We can, you know, and when I say black, I don't mean, you know, classist system. But anyway, y'all know who I'm talking to. Some black people can tell you the whole genealogy report of a celebrity, of the name of the celebrity, how many kids they had, right? Who their mother and father is even at times, right? But they don't know their own lineage. Like, they can't tell you their great-grandfather, their great-grandmother. Like, that's a problem. The fact that you know his story, but you don't know your story, right? The fact that we could say, oh, yeah, you know, such a those are the Native Americans and the Native Americans. Okay, cool. Who are you? I don't know. I have no idea. What is your story? Right? We can tell any and everybody everything about other people's lives, but we don't know our own story. That's a problem. Where's the scribe of your life, right? You know what the scribe's main concern is with? Legacy. Legacy. What is being left behind? Right? That's what's important. What's being left behind? What's the story that's going to be told when you're no longer here? What is the future generations going to hold on to and say? Right? What are the lessons that need to be passed down to the future? Right? Many of us, we gain knowledge and we just sit around and we hold on to it. Right? We get knowledge and we don't want to teach nobody. We want to hold on and keep it for ourselves. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't serve the greater good. That doesn't serve anybody. Right? Remember, your time here is very short. I don't know who's watching this today. I don't know who this is for and what you're planning to do. But remember, your time here is short. You ain't got forever, right? The best time to do it was yesterday. Yesterday. I don't know what you working on, what you finna do, right? That's that one thing we always talk about. We talk about what we finna do. You know what I'm saying? Well, you know, I'm about to, I'm finna, I'm working on. Huh? Anybody finna do something, stay away from around me. Stay from me. That black folks some finna ass doing folk, ain't we? We some trying ass folk. The time was yesterday to get it done. You see what I'm saying? So we got to start realizing that, you know, that our record, our historical record is the only thing that's going to matter when we gone. That historical record. What does it look like when we're not here? Our historical record as a people. We can't leave it in the hands of our oppressors. We can't leave it in the hands of people who don't serve our best interests. We can't. They've been trying to reshape history every single day. They've been reshaping history for a long time, right? I think we can all agree with that. And they've been changing what happens in the past, right? And so that means that what we do today, we have to solidify. It can't be something that just be left up in the air or left to speculation. Everything that we do, right, has to be documented. Everywhere we're getting ready to go, right? What we're doing, it all has to be documented. Get it done. Don't play around with it. Because if you don't write your story, somebody else is going to write it for you. I promise you. Promise you. You don't want somebody else talking about you. You don't want somebody else explaining what it is that you're thinking, what it is that you've accomplished, what it is that you've done, what your failures are. You don't want somebody else explaining that story, I promise you. So what does that mean for you? What does that mean for you? Whatever it is, whatever your talent is, right? You want to live your life through that. You want to live your life through that, right? If you a doctor, right? You want to make sure that your patients understand your story, right? You want to make sure you want to live your life through it. Live your life through it. Major key. Make sure your family understand your story, understand your legacy. Whatever you're doing as far as your life, right? You want to make sure that you're shining your light in that situation, right? That you're the author, you're the narrator. Don't let anybody else's perspective of what things look like, right, be the story. If you're a writer, write that book. You an artist, make that song. You an actor, make that movie. Oh, you a sales examiner, a case examiner, get those cases done to the best of your ability. See what I'm saying? Make sure you put your stamps and make sure you ain't just working for somebody, right? And building their legacy and their history. You gotta have your own, right? That's the point. That's the importance of being sovereign and having your own. Because when you're working for somebody else, remember you're basically somebody else's scribe, right? Working for somebody else, you're their scribe. You're literally creating their history of how their life goes. Because when they die, guess what? They're going to say, John Smith started a business and he had over 200 employees and these employees did da-da-da-da, right? And guess what? Your life just becomes the 200 employees, essentially is what happened, right? That's who you become in that story, or one of the 200 employees. See what I'm saying? Yeah, and you won't get writer's credit. See what I'm saying? So you're essentially helping somebody else live out their legacy, right? And when they die, you're just going to be one of the employees, right? You're one of you're one of the pawns. You're one of the ones that this person literally just put on, right? So that they could have a better life. Think about it. See what I'm saying? So you're essentially selling your life to make somebody else better, right? Cool thing to do when it's family involved. When you're doing it for people that are oppressing you now. You know what I'm saying? You hire your son and your daughter and your friends, family business, that's different. But you literally working for the man. Like, you're building their life. And this is why we look at it that way. Because we understand legacy. Right? What does this look like for the future? It's legacy. Right? So the scribe is very, very significant. Right? We're looking at it in more of a symbolic way now that we understand what the scribe is. But ultimately, we can apply this to our everyday lives by understanding the power that we have in our hands from a day to day. Right? We could wake up every single day and we could document. Right? There was a time when everyone couldn't read and write. We didn't have this opportunity. There was a time where black people did not read and write, even right here in America. That was less than 100 years ago, family. Y'all understand that? Y'all understand that? That wasn't too long ago, when most of us didn't have the education to be able to do and document the way we can now. So if we get into that space, if we can find a way to get ourselves into a space where we can take the knowledge that we're learning and things that we're downloading from our ancestral DNA and actually document it and put it down, why not do that? Why not do that? Right? Even if you're not at the stage yet where you want to share it with everybody, right? I think it's important that the things that we learn and the lessons that we learn in life, right? I think it's important to jot them down, save them so that somebody else doesn't have to go through what it is that you went through to learn the lesson. You see? Sometimes I get on here and I drop a jewel, I drop some knowledge, Somebody like, well, everybody knows that. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, well, bro, how come I got 10,000 likes, bro? What are you talking about? Clearly, everybody. How come it was shared 1,000? Clearly, everybody doesn't know, right? That's a matter of perspective. Sometimes what you think is common knowledge is not common knowledge to everybody, right? They were waiting for you to scribe. They were waiting for you to let them know what's happening. They did not know. There's 7.4 billion people in the world, right? 7.4 billion. The same person can't tell me what the name of the block is 2-3 blocks away. What's the name of that street? It's 3 blocks away. What's the name of that street? Right? Oh, but the 704 billionth person all the way on the other side of the world knew what it is that you know. Everybody knows, bro. Everybody knew what you knew. You don't even know the block 3, huh? What are we talking about? Right? So always remember that this world is large, right? So just because you may know something doesn't mean that everybody knows it, right? Or just because even somebody next door knows something doesn't mean that the rest of the city knows or anybody in your demographic. I don't think you realize how much power you have in your hand, in the palm of your hand, right? There's no reason for anybody to be broke these days. I'll tell you that. You can get in touch with anybody. Everybody needs something. Everybody needs something. You go outside, pick up a snowball in the winter in New York, and somebody in California gonna buy the damn snowball from you. Think about it. They never seen snow. They'll pay $50 for that snowball. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not in tune and tapped into what you tapped into. Realize that you're wherever you are, you're in a special place. Wherever you are. Because two people can't occupy the same space at the same time. Two people can't occupy the same space. So wherever you are, it has value. That's why, like I said, if you in Florida, you got them Florida oranges, B. You can't try to play somebody that's over in up north, because you're gonna need the goods from up north, right? Like you ain't gonna find the evergreen. You're not gonna find the evergreen tree down there. Like you're just not gonna find it, right? So if you in New York, you can't get mad at the people in Florida. They give you the oranges, right? You need the orange. You can't get mad at, like I said, the Asians, they're going to give you the rice, right? You need the rice, right? Nubia, they got the gold, right? We trade in commerce because we realize that wherever we are, it has value, right? We all are unique and we all have value. That means everybody, like, let's take it esoterically. Everybody's story has value, right? Everybody's perspective have value. Where they come from. What ideology they've learned, right? I would be of no value to you, family, right? If I didn't learn all the things that I learned about religion and Christianity, right? What value would I be able to bring to you? I would have to walk through those houses, right? Right? So that's what makes me unique. You say, oh, Jamaar, why you always talk about Christianity? Because that's the house that I walk through, goofy. Right? Right? If I sit down, I'm going to be able to have a compelling conversation because I walk through that house. Now, somebody else will be able to sit down and have a compelling conversation maybe about Islam or Judaism, right? But that's not my lane. I stay in my lane, right? I'm the scribe. I'm the narrator of my own story. My story, right, is here. You see? So all of these things, knowing who you are is what helps too, right? Sometimes being the scribe of your own life helps you to find who you are. Because when you're tracking it, you get to see your growth. You get to see where you were and where you are now, right? When you write down the lessons, guess what? Sometimes writing down those lessons, it ain't for everybody else. Sometimes it's for you, so you don't forget. Right? And I'm no exception to that rule. There are a lot of times they'll sit back and I'm like, damn, I did that. Right? Many times. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's good to keep a close partner next to you, right? I keep somebody that can remind you, like, bro, like you did that. You see what I'm saying? You did that. It helps to realize how far you've come. Sometimes you forget some of the things that you do because when you're in the midst of working, you're not really paying attention to the accolades. You don't have time to celebrate, right? So you're just working. And sometimes you don't realize your accomplishments and how far you've come. So this is why scribing is very, very important. So you can go back, you can see in Kofa, take a look and be like, oh, okay, I already been down this road. That's wild crazy. You see what I'm saying? Or been there, done that, right? So, that puts you in a perspective. Okay, you can invite me to a show. I might not be able to make this show. You know why? Because I already been there, done that. I already been there. We already accomplished that. We thinking bigger now. You know what I'm saying? We thinking we thinking bigger than that. So, with that being said, take control. Be the scribe of your life. Take control, right? Recognize that your story is important, and jot it down, document it, because somebody gonna read it, right? If they wrote a book if they wrote a book about your life, would anybody read it? If they wrote a book about your life, would anybody read it? Because I'm sure a lot of us done been through some A lot of us done been through something. And you can help somebody get through something just by telling your stories. Something simple, right? It don't got to be as profound as ancient knowledge, in the back of a guru library. It ain't got to be, no. Simple things that you learned in life growing up, right? Simple things that you've been through growing up. Tell your story, lessons that you learned. It could be one lesson that you learned from one situation that you could write a whole book about. Facts. Or even do a little reel about a 1 million. You'd be surprised how a 1 minute reel can change somebody's life. You'd be surprised. I'm a living example. You understand? My inbox is flooded with people, right? Sometimes people in tears whose lives were changed from a 1 minute reel, right? Just giving your perspective. I'm telling you, give it a try. Own your power. Recognize that your story is important. Don't let anybody tell you that your story ain't important and you ain't gone through something. You know what I'm saying? Facts. Just letting them know that they're not alone. Sometimes, a lot of that's one of the main things. I'm glad you said a lot of things that destroy people is the fact that they're thinking that they're going through it by themselves. And just that comfort alone that you're not going through it by yourself is enough to bring a lot of people through, right? It's one thing when somebody says, "Oh yeah, you have a unique disease." It's gonna last you for the rest of your life, right? It's gonna last you for the rest of your life. You'll be like, "Oh my God," right? "Oh my God, I have a rare disease. Only 1 in 10,000 people have this disease. Oh my God," right? But if I told you, "Hey, yo, you got allergies," and like 50-50, damn, everybody got that shit. You're like, "Oh, I ain't that bad." It ain't that bad. You know what I'm saying? I can't stand the spring, but it ain't that bad, right? But if you was the only one, could you imagine? If you was the only one? So sometimes sharing your story, like, "Oh yeah, I got that situation going on too." You see what I'm saying? Well, how are you coping? What are you doing to get through? Well, this is what we do, right? Like it helps for somebody to press on, right? It gives them ideas of how they can hopefully overcome as well. You see, your story is very important. Don't let anybody try to bamboozle you out of your legacy, out of your story, and how important it is, how much of a factor it is. If you're learning something new today and this is helping you, smash that like and heart button right now. Share. Let somebody know that their story is important and that they need to be the scribe of their own life. Take control, right? That skill of learning to read and write gave regular people the power to dictate the future of humanity. Just think about that. That one skill. They may not have been the best warriors. But they were the ones who were able to dictate all the things that we talk about today that our ancestors left behind for us, and the things that they contributed to society, the things they contributed to civilization. They're the most important piece for the future, for us as Black people, for us as melanated indigenous people, right? So, with that being said, couple announcements. Shout out to everybody that ordered the Tibet Singing Bowls. They went out this week. So get ready because they're coming. They coming. Just relax. This week is going down, and I cannot wait for y'all to receive them. If you're on the second shipment, you still got a couple of weeks to wait. But those of you who are on the first run, they're coming to your house. They were shipped yesterday. So check your emails for tracking numbers. They should be there. For those of you who want to take part in that, you can go to the Lighthouse store and you can cop your Tibet singing bowls there, as well as the other jewelry that we have and other merch that we have. We got a lot of cool things that are in there, so go ahead and check that out. Aside from the Tibet singing bowls, we got a bunch of other stuff in there. One Blood is coming out this Friday.
Better chill.
One Blood is coming out this Friday, so I hope y'all ready for that when we drop that, because it's going to be a problem. We're dropping that on Friday. Yes, sir. Shout out to everybody in Bill. I see you. Let's see. Tashi says she getting the pillows for her couch. Yeah, these pillows is popping. I ain't gonna hold you. The pillow is no joke. You feel me? It's just a vibe. It's just a vibe. You want to have this stuff laying around. Like I said, it helps remind you of who you are. You know, these are the things that we sleep on every day. You know, so we wake up in that light. We also got the jewels coming. So, you know, if you're on a budget, save your bread, because when this come out, oh my God. Oh my God. When we drop these, constructed by one and only, the one and only Baba Heru, it's going to be a problem. Lighthouse, we have our own pendants. We're going to have mini pendants, much like what you see me wearing here, but a smaller version of it. It's going to be a mini pendant that you can rock. Okay, and you can get, if you wanted, you can get it customized. Like, he's really, helping us out with that. So go ahead and get that. Is there going to be a hard copy? Nah, not for One Blood. One Blood, you'll be able to stream it. No hard copies. I only do hard copies of albums. For the most part, people aren't playing CDs like that anymore. So for the most part, I only do hard copies for albums, because people like to have the keepsake of the album. The hard copy of the album. But you'll be able to stream that record, and that record will be on the album. So when it's time for the album, then you can get the hard copy of that record. Make sense? That's how we normally do that. What else? If you're traveling to Iceland with the Lighthouse, make sure you link up with me. Hit me in my inbox so I can get you on the group chat, so you can get the information for that. We're having weekly group chats to give out the information for going to Iceland to see Auroras Borealis and travel with the Lighthouse on the Lighthouse Power Trip. What else? That's pretty much it, family. Just want to tap in with you, give you some knowledge on the Scribe. And if that helps you, make sure you like, share, comment, send to your friends, loved ones, right? Let's start taking control of our lives and being the scribes of our lives, right? Let's start being the dictators and the narrators of our lives, and realize that we have the power, a lot more power than what we've been taught, a lot more power than what we thought we have been given. So with that being said, to the harm of none and to the good of all, may you manifest every heart's desire. Ashe, ashe, ashe. And peace. I love y'all. Let's play some music. What we going to play? Who was first on? First on, we had, let's see if they still here. I'm going to give them a moment. Give a moment to put it out there. Lottie Billy was the first one on. So Lottie Billy, if you know a Jamaar Milton record that you would like played, that we normally play on the show, just put it in the feed and we'll make sure that we get that played for you. We'll give Lottie 2 to 3 minutes to jot that down. And if Lottie doesn't respond, you guys can let me know what record that you want to hear, one that we normally play, that one that I may have already queued up. So I'm going to tell you your choices here. All right, we got One Blood queued up. We got Pakalolo, Black and Proud, Shaka Zulu, Talk to Y'all featuring Joey Badass, Shaman, just the instrumental, Yamin, the instrumental, Gas on Fire. We got the regular Yamin too. We got Walk Up, and we got Manifest. We got a lot of the classics in there. What are we playing today? Lottie Billy says we are playing One Blood. We are playing One Blood for Lottie Billy. Y'all make some noise for Lottie Billy for being the first one on. We're not even going to waste no time. We're going to get right into it. Let's go.
gotta find her Nemo. Here we go, say she need a poke, I got a big ego. Why you toying with me, Calico? This nigga funny, mo. Better finish your honeycomb. Selection visits from my uncle, no. Always hovering above my dome. Like me and my brother, though. Try to be modest, but I got it honestly. Nigga been putting in work. But you gotta acknowledge that woman beside you when she put on the skirt. Demographic of the people thinking that it's heaven after when we leave. Whatever happening to me, we might never actually agree. We spitting knowledge in degrees, reveal our minds in the dream. No wonder we building pies with a team. As the realest guys in the scene, yeah, I mean. The ancestors don't play about me. One blood, one blood, one blood. Oh, 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 oh. I suggest you keep the energy from all around me. One blood, one blood, one blood, one blood. The ancestors don't play about me. One blood, one blood, one blood. Oh, 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 oh. I suggest you keep the energy from all around me. One blood, one blood, one blood, one blood.
Electric slide across the galaxy. Peanut butter, wale, pele, leather fit so magically. Chains, pyramid rings, we move accordingly. Most importantly, to my ancestors as they rest in peace. Connect with my peeps as I speak life through these melodies. What can I say? So long way from catching felonies, just trying to get paid and get laid. That be my therapy in the shade. Pink lemonade cigar, that energy. Rest in pieces to every one of my foes and my frenemies. I hear your little chats in case you think it don't get back to me. I just level up and these toxic fucks be my remedy. A headshot for you and your boys. We